Picture this. Your phone buzzes. A coworker asks if you can just quickly cover their shift this weekend. You already have plans. You already feel your stomach tighten, and before your brain even finishes processing what you actually want, your mouth is already saying, "Yeah, no problem, I've got you." Or maybe it happens at a family dinner. Someone asks if you can lend them money again, or drive 4 hours to help them move, or just listen to the same complaint for the third time this month. You feel the exhaustion rise up in your chest before they even finish the sentence. And you say yes anyway, already smiling, already reassuring them it's really no trouble at all. If you're the kind of person who does this, who says yes while every cell in your body is quietly screaming no, who apologizes for things that were never your fault, who feels a flash of panic at the thought of someone being even slightly annoyed with you, then you already know exactly what today's video is about. People love to call this being nice, easygoing, low maintenance, the kind of person everyone wants on their team because you never cause problems. But underneath that smooth, agreeable surface, something much more complicated is happening. What looks like kindness from the outside is often on the inside, something closer to fear wearing a very convincing, kind mask. And the cruel irony is this: the more people rely on you for saying yes, the more invisible you slowly become until one day you look up and realize you can't actually remember the last time you said what you really wanted, only what you thought you were allowed to want. Today, we're going to break down the real psychology behind people who can't say no, and more importantly, how to finally take your own voice back. Welcome back to Vaulten. Let's get started. Most people have heard of fight or flight. Some have even heard of freeze, that shutdown state where the body goes quiet under too much pressure. But there's a fourth survival response that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most common one of all. It's called the Fawn response, a term coined by psychotherapist Pete Walker to describe what happens when a person's nervous system decides that the safest way to survive a threat isn't to fight it, run from it, or freeze in front of it, but to please it. When fighting is too dangerous, when running is impossible, and when freezing won't make the threat go away, the nervous system reaches for a fourth option. Make yourself so agreeable, so helpful, so easy to love, that the danger has no reason to hurt you. It's not weakness. It's a very old, very intelligent survival strategy. The mind deciding that connection, even an exhausting or false version of it, is safer than conflict. Think of it like a customer service voice that never actually turns off. You know the one. Calm, warm, endlessly accommodating, no matter what's happening underneath. Most people can switch that voice on for a difficult phone call and switch it back off the moment they hang up. But for a fawner, that voice isn't a costume you put on for strangers. It's the only voice you've got, running in the background of every relationship in your life, 24 hours a day, whether you're talking to your boss or your own mother. Physiologically, this is actually a strange hybrid state. Your sympathetic nervous system, the same system that powers fight or flight, is still fully activated underneath, heart rate up, muscles primed, scanning for danger. But instead of that energy getting released outward as anger or escape, it gets rerouted through your social engagement system, the same circuitry responsible for warm eye contact, a soft tone of voice, a reassuring smile. In other words, your body is sounding a full-blown alarm and smiling through it at the exact same time. That's why fawning is so exhausting in a way that's hard to explain to people who don't do it. You're not calm. You just look calm while your entire nervous system is quietly on fire. And just like the other survival responses, the fawn response is rarely something that shows up out of nowhere in adulthood. For most people who can't say no, the wiring was built years earlier, usually inside a childhood home where love felt conditional. Maybe you were the kid who learned to read the sound of a car door closing in the driveway and could tell within 2 seconds whether it was safe to ask for help with homework or better to disappear quietly into your room. Maybe you learned to watch a parent's shoulders instead of their words because the shoulders always told the truth first. You became good, quiet, helpful, undemanding, not because that was who you naturally were, but because you figured out early that being anything else came with a price. Physician and author Dr. Gabor Mate describes this as a child being forced to choose between authenticity and attachment, between staying true to what they actually feel or staying connected to the people they depend on to survive. And when you're small and powerless, that choice isn't really a choice at all. Attachment wins every time because attachment means survival. It's also worth saying that this pattern doesn't land on every child equally. Some children come into the world already wired to feel things more intensely, to pick up on a room's emotional temperature faster than everyone else in it. When that kind of innate sensitivity grows up inside an unpredictable or conditional household, the two things feed each other. The sensitivity supplies the radar. The environment supplies the reason to use it constantly. And the fawn response is what gets built on top of both. So the child learns to read a room before they can read a book. They learn to sense a shift in tone before a single word is said. They become fluent in everyone else's needs because their own needs were never safe to have in the first place. And that skill, reading people, anticipating what will keep the peace, becoming whoever the moment needs you to be, doesn't disappear when you grow up. It just changes its target. Instead of a parent, now it's a boss, a partner, a friend, a stranger online who might think a little less of you. Here's the part that makes this so hard to catch in yourself. Fawning doesn't feel like fear from the inside. It feels like generosity. It feels like being a good person, maybe even a better person than everyone else who's willing to disappoint people so easily. Your brain has gotten so good at relabeling self-erasure as virtue that by the time you're an adult, you genuinely believe saying yes to everything is just who you are, a personality trait, not a habit your nervous system built to keep you safe a long time ago. And sometimes, you can see this pattern without looking any deeper than your calendar. Look at your week. How much of it did you actually choose? And how much of it belongs to things you agreed to before asking yourself whether you had the time, energy, or even wanted to do them? Sometimes losing yourself isn't dramatic. Sometimes everyone gets a piece of your time, except you. That's why Routine is sponsoring today's video. Routine brings your calendar, tasks, and notes into one place, making it easier to see where your time is actually going and intentionally make space for what matters to you. It won't teach you how to say no, but it can help you stop treating your time like it belongs to everyone else. Just for our community, Routine gave viewers of this video 20% off with code AILaunch, available to the first 1,000 members who sign up through my affiliate link below. When this pattern runs long enough, it tends to show up in 3 familiar ways. Sign 1. You apologize for things that were never a crime in the first place. You bump a stranger's cart in the grocery store, and you're the one who says sorry, even though they weren't even looking. You ask a question in a meeting and start it with, "Sorry, this might be a dumb question, but..." You cancel plans because you're sick, and instead of simply saying you're sick, you spend 3 sentences justifying it, apologizing for the inconvenience, promising to make it up to them. You even apologize to inanimate objects, to a chair you bumped into, to a door that didn't open fast enough. You send a text and immediately follow it with, "Sorry for the long message," even when it was 4 sentences long. For you, sorry stopped being an apology a long time ago. It's a reflex, a small constant offering you make to the world to prove you're not a threat, that you're not taking up too much space, that you're still safe to be around. Sign 2. You genuinely don't know what you want anymore. Ask yourself honestly, if a friend asked you right now, out of nowhere, where you wanted to go for dinner, could you answer immediately? Or would your first instinct be to ask them what they feel like and quietly agree with whatever they say, telling yourself you're being flexible when really you've just outsourced the decision entirely? Years of prioritizing everyone else's comfort over your own preferences doesn't just make you agreeable, it slowly erodes your ability to even locate your own preferences in the first place. In psychology, This is related to a loss of self-differentiation, a blurring of the line between your own emotional experience and everyone else's. You've spent so long being a mirror for other people that you've forgotten what your own reflection actually looks like. Sign 3. A quiet resentment that never gets a voice but never really goes away either. Every yes you didn't mean gets filed away somewhere in your body, and because you never say no, that resentment has nowhere to go. It doesn't disappear. It accumulates in tension in your shoulders, in exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix, in a strange flash of irritation at someone who didn't actually do anything wrong. They just happened to be the 100th person this month who assumed you'd say yes. And the most painful part is you can't even be angry at them out loud, because from the outside, you were the one who agreed. Nobody made you, except somebody did, just not out loud and not today. Years ago, in a house where saying no was never really an option. Here's something else worth noticing. You probably don't fawn with everyone the same amount. There might be one relationship, a parent, an ex, a particular kind of boss, where the fawning gets almost unbearably intense, while with other people, strangers, maybe even close friends, you're perfectly capable of holding a boundary without a second thought. That's not a contradiction. It's actually a clue. The people who trigger the strongest fawn response in you are usually the ones who most closely echo the original relationship where the pattern was built in the first place. Your nervous system isn't reacting to who they are today. It's reacting to who they reminded of. So what's the way out of this? The goal was never to stop caring about people. Kindness was never actually the problem. The real goal is to stop mistaking your own disappearance for kindness in the first place, and to learn that you can be a genuinely good person without volunteering as the emotional shock absorber for everyone around you. Psychologists who work with chronic people pleasers usually focus on 3 practical shifts. Step 1. Learn to separate guilt from wrongdoing. For you, guilt has probably never meant, I did something wrong. It's meant, someone might be disappointed in me, which your nervous system has always treated as the exact same emergency. But those 2 things are not the same. You are allowed to disappoint someone and still have done absolutely nothing wrong. Every time you feel that familiar tightness in your chest after saying no, try asking yourself one honest question. Did I actually hurt this person, or did I just fail to manage their feelings for them? Most of the time, the answer is the second one. And managing other people's feelings for them was never actually your job, even if you've been doing it for free your entire life. Step 2. Start practicing with the smallest, safest no's you can find. Not the huge ones yet, not quitting a toxic job or confronting a parent, something tiny. Telling a waiter you'd actually prefer a different table, saying you don't feel like talking on the phone right now instead of picking up anyway, declining a group plan you don't actually want to attend without writing 4 sentences of justification first, telling a family member you'll call them back tomorrow instead of dropping everything right now. Your nervous system doesn't learn safety through logic. No matter how many times you tell it, the math checks out. It learns safety through repetition, small survivable proof, over and over, that saying no does not actually end the relationship. Every tiny no that doesn't destroy your world is evidence your body needs to finally update its old programming. Step 3. Practice sitting inside someone else's disappointment without rushing to fix it. This is the hardest one, because for you, someone else's discomfort has always felt like your emergency to solve. But you can let someone be a little annoyed with you, a little disappointed, even a little hurt, and survive it. Their emotional weather is not automatically your responsibility to manage, and it never actually was. It's uncomfortable, and at first, it should be. But discomfort is not the same thing as danger. And the more you let yourself feel that discomfort without immediately appeasing it away, the more your nervous system finally learns the truth. It never got to learn as a child that you can be disliked for a moment and still be safe. When you start practicing this, something quietly starts to shift. You don't become cold. You don't stop caring. What actually happens is stranger and better than that. You stop being a mirror that only exists to reflect everyone else's needs back at them, and you slowly become something more like a window instead. Something people can still see warmth and light through, but something with its own shape, its own edges, something that's allowed to exist as more than a reflection of whoever happens to be standing in front of it. You were never selfish for wanting a voice of your own. You were never too much for having needs. The truth is the opposite. You became this agreeable, this easy to be around, this endlessly accommodating, because somewhere along the way, you learned that being anything else wasn't safe. That was never a character flaw. It was survival. And you don't need to survive that particular danger anymore. The room you grew up in is not the room you're standing in now, even if some part of you hasn't quite caught up to that yet. So, out of the 3 signs we talked about today, which one hit closest to home for you? The apologizing, the lost sense of your own preferences, or the resentment you've never said out loud? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you know someone who says yes to everyone except themselves, send them this video. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for a person like that is remind them they're allowed to have a voice too. I'm Vaulten. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep exploring the hidden corners of the mind together. See you next time.